Merit goods are underprovided by the market mechanism, as they are provided mainly by the government. These are goods that society feel that should be provided in greater quantities. This iMovie is about the underprovision of merit goods and their positive externalities of production, which will be exemplified by the Singapore MRT, a merit good. The MRT is a rapid transit system forming the major component of the railway system in Singapore, spanning the entire city. The operators of this MRT system are SBS Transit and SMRT trains. The MRT is owned by Land Transport Authority, also known as LTA, which is owned by the government. The Singapore government has provided a world-class MRT system. You will get to know about this from the upcoming interviews.
Okay, Jeff, so how often do you use the MRT?
I use the MRT probably once a week. I use the bus a lot more frequently though, every single day.
Okay, what impact does it have on your transport in Singapore, like the MRT?
I like the MRT and it's necessary for my transport in Singapore because I actually don't own a car. So,
okay, so it saves you the need of...
It's either MRT, walking, or biking, or taxi.
So do you think there are enough lines? I mean, the connectivity is good, or the MRT stations are always crowded?
It's quite crowded at certain times, but like one thing that I really like about the MRT is that they're planning for new lines. In fact, the new downtown line is going to have a station right next to my condo, if I'm here that long.
Okay.
So what do you think are the best features of Singapore's MRT? Like when you look at all of the different MRTs in the world, and then you focus on Singapore, what would be the best aspect of it?
Singapore's MRT is very clean, and it's convenient. Like the stops are at all the places really where you kind of want to be. But I think, you know, it's easy to do that in Singapore because it's so compact anyway. I guess that's the best.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, how often do you use MRT?
Probably a few times a week.
Okay. Do you think it's well connected? I mean, all the station?
It's pretty well connected, especially during peak hour. Sometimes it makes more sense to travel by MRT than to go by even cars, especially car parks are so expensive.
Do you think there are some negative factors? I mean, do you think there are ways that it can be improved?
I think they had to take care of the technical aspects because they have been breaking down more often than in recent years than it was before. So I think that's the main factor. Apart from that, wise, I guess they had to be able to ensure that during peak hours the trains are more smooth flowing in terms of traffic. Sometimes you have one very crowded train and the next train is slightly more empty, and if they can do a better synchronizing will be good for the commuters.
One more question. Do you think there are enough lines, the MRT lines?
Is there any scope for improvement?
I think the MRT lines, I mean they've been building a lot, so places that I want to go to I think are mostly served by the MRT line, so I don't see much of a problem. Or perhaps it's because the place where I stay and the place where I want to go to, usually these have already been well served. Perhaps somebody who stays in the outlying areas may not feel the same way, but for me it seems to be okay.
Thank you, sir.
This is the market for the MRT in Singapore, which is a merit good provided by the Singapore government. This is the supply and this is the demand. The original supply curve is MPC, the marginal private cost, where the price is determined by the free market forces. But this is not at an allocatively efficient point. Demand remains constant at the marginal private benefit, which is also equal to the marginal social benefit. There is a shift in supply from S to S1, which is also the shift from marginal private cost to the marginal social cost. It shifts outward, and this illustrates that the supply is now at a socially optimal position. This results in a new price equilibrium at E1, which is lower than the original price at E. E1 is a point on the graph which illustrates the market forces when quantity and price are both optimal. Hence, this is an allocatively efficient point.
The supply curve has shifted as a result of eliminating the underproduction of the MRT trains. Essentially, this is the ideal solution to the market failure with the MRT system in Singapore. When the supplies increase, the deadweight loss is eliminated as the marginal private cost is removed. Therefore, this shows a gain in welfare.
Market failure refers to when there is a misallocation of resources, where for our topic there is underprovision of the MRT. Too little of this service is currently being provided, so social benefit is greater than private benefit. Due to this market failure, in the short run, consumers cannot access different places as quickly as possible, as they need assistance of different means of transport. In the long run, if underprovision continues, as the Singaporean population grows and expatriate immigration flourishes, it will be harder for people to get across to places, as crowds will increase, and hence, social discomfort will be a disincentive to take the MRT. The two diagrams in comparison show how the current provision of MRT is insufficient. Diagram A illustrates the current position of Singapore in terms of MRT production, showing a market failure, where the production of MRT is not at an allocatively efficient point, whereas diagram B shows the potential Singapore has if its MRT trains are provided at this allocatively efficient point. Now, one might ask, how is Singapore ever going to reach diagram B at that point of MRT production? This is where the government has to step in and take various measures to address this underprovision. Possible solutions to eliminate this underprovision of MRTs could start off with direct government provision of MRT trains, so that they can continue to expand the MRT network. Also, greater taxation of the population could also work, as that would lower the production costs of the MRT. Even if the underproduction of MRT trains is eliminated, the short run might still not look too bright, as the environment will be negatively impacted as production of new lines and stations will increase, contributing to higher levels of greenhouse gas emissions in Singapore. However, in the long run, with less car and vehicle usage, the effect on society will be minimal, as the MRT is a more eco-friendly mean of transport.